Gaslighting, it basically is lying. It's basically lying. It's a way for them to deny really bad things that they've done, deny experiences you've had, would embarrass you publicly, make you look like you're crazy, a way to get you to doubt what you think is going on. And there's usually two components of it. One is what they're telling you, and the other is what they're telling other people about you or about the situation. One of the components that really makes it work so well, and why it drags things, why it makes things go on so much longer, is because a lot of times what they're saying you want to believe. This was true for me, because the narcissist has you all wrong in a lot of ways. Like, they think you are like them. They project onto you that you're like them. That's really not the case. You're not trying to create a false reality. That you believe the whole thing. You believe the story. So things start kind of falling apart, and you start to see that maybe they don't love you the way that you thought they did, or that they've done something now to hurt you that really shocked you, and the mask slipped. And you saw behind the mask, and it was terrifying. And so you ask them about that, and they deny it. They say, no, that wasn't true. Well, a big piece of you wants it to not be true. So this can go on for a really long time. And it will take, no longer can invest in the lie anymore. It will take you where the evidence just builds up so much that you start to realize what's going on. But it can really make things go on a long time. And it is really so unbelievable to normal people that someone could do this. And usually it's not just someone. It's usually your mom or your dad or your husband or your wife. And what they'll be saying didn't happen will be something that shouldn't have happened. Will be saying something that it was unbelievable that it happened. And so when they say it didn't happen, everyone wants to believe that it didn't happen, because it certainly shouldn't have happened. It was a bizarre, strange thing. And for the longest time, you'll want to believe it didn't happen too. And you would rather believe you were crazy than believe that they don't love you. This is where the narcissists in my life always kind of had me wrong, is that they didn't understand that I wasn't out to get them, that it wasn't like that. That I really wanted all of it to be true. And I wasn't onto them at all. I wasn't about to expose them. At least I was the last to know every single thing. My son just had a gaslighting experience where he actually went through a thing when he was really little, where it was real scary for a bit of time, where he was blind in one eye and he had to have some eye surgery, and he was like 3 years old, and it was just this period of time. And he was talking about this at a family event where I was excluded, of course. And his father and his aunt, my brother's ex-wife, said that didn't happen. That wasn't how it went. It wasn't like that at all. Which was completely not true. I mean, it was a complete gaslighting, because it absolutely did happen. And their reason for telling him it didn't happen, I don't know. Could have been to maybe embarrass him, or to take away any kind of maybe they thought it would make him doubt me. Maybe it would take away some moment where they thought that I shined as a good mother. Who knows what the reason was for them wanting to gaslight him and tell him that wasn't true. But he comes home and he was like, what's the deal? They told me it wasn't. And I was like, he knew they were lying. He knew, and so it gave me an opportunity to open up the discussion about what gaslighting is with him, that was a good thing. So I did do that. It make you kind of doubt. He was talking about this thing where, it was this experience he had as a little kid where he went through this thing with his mom, and it gave them an opportunity to kind of come in and say, that's not the way it went, and it kind of undermine this story that he has about his life. And believe me, this is very, very painful for him, because right now he has got his, witness to his life has died. And I am a witness to his life to some degree, to some extent, but not the same way. I wasn't right there all the time with him at all these different things, and he lost that. So it's really huge. And so the fact that he is being gaslit at a family event was just one of a couple of things that just made me want so badly to tell him to just go no contact with the family, but I can't really tell him to do that. He has to make a choice to do that on his own. But, you know, there's very little opportunity for, I mean, he doesn't have a lot of contact with them, but it's still too much. I want us to move away so that there's just no contact with him at all, because he's not savvy enough to know when he's being abused all the time. You know, so I feel protective of him because, you know, until you learn about this stuff, you may not know when things are happening, because of course it's all very subtle and it looks so normal. And so, you know, always what happens is, you know, maybe months or weeks or years later, he'll just tell me some story and about something that happened, and it's just full. The story that he tells me is just full of narcissistic abuse. But it will be abuse that he didn't even see. So it happens, and I'm not there to protect him, and I'm not, you know. So this is, you know, growing up in a narcissistic family with a sociopathic father. It's just normal. It's just normal, and it all seems perfectly normal. Nothing is outrageous to his view or anybody else's view. He could be at any kind of family event, and nothing is going to stand out. It's all going to look very, very normal. And it would only be because you know certain things that you would be able to recognize certain things are happening. And so, so it's very, very subtle and easily deniable to anyone outside. And that's always that's really the thing with gaslighting, with a lot of the way that narcissistic covert abuse happens, is that it's always deniable. It always has a look of just normalcy to most other people. Someone made an analogy where it's like a dog whistle, and the abuser is blowing the dog whistle, and only you can hear it. It's going on, it's definitely there, but no one else can hear it because they're not trained to it, but you can hear it. It's that kind of thing. It's like, you know, this gaslighting was going on, and how it was that these two people who are definitely have been aggressive abusers of mine happen to be together in denying this important reality of his life story. And of course, the story of my life is completely altered around them anyway. So who I am and the way that I lived and my values and the life that I have, all of it is complete fabrication around the family as it is already. And so there's complete and total gaslighting. You can count on it being gaslighting every time I'm coming into the conversation over there. So, but things will happen, like just little things. And usually when they're done with something really, really bad, you know, like, and they just never remember. So I told in the last video that I did, I was talking about narcissism and illness, and I talked about this time when I called home to ask my mother about, so I was trying to let her in on something, trying to, you know, show some intimacy and some trust, and ask her this very intimate, personal question, and let her in on a private matter of my life that I didn't need to let her in on. She never would have known. Her response was just to, more or less, that she was just disgusted by me. It was about an ectopic pregnancy. She basically was telling me, I'm 21 years old, telling me that I'm probably going to be, that her professional opinion is I'm probably going to be sterilized now. I'm not unable to ever have children again. And, you know, this kind of thing. And, you know, it was just, just super obviously angry at me for having this situation happening. And, you know, like it was a real moralistic stance. I'm guessing that the point was because I was having sex before I was married or something. But, you know, this was also such a, you know, she was just such a complete total hypocrite, because, you know, she knew I was living with a couple of different boyfriends, and they would come down there and visit me, and it was fine as long as it didn't come anywhere near her in her life. She was perfectly fine with my staying away, with not even knowing even where I was living, as long as it was living with a guy that she barely knew. She was fine with that. It wasn't about protectiveness or anything like that. It was about having anything that was threatening to her life. So here it was, I was calling her to basically let her know that I had this ectopic pregnancy or something that they were calling ectopic pregnancy. I thought I was going to have to go in the next day to have it checked out, and that they thought that's what it was. And I don't know if her immediate fear was, oh my God, she's going to get pregnant, she's going to come home. I don't know what she was thinking, but her reaction was really, really bad. And she said, you could be sterilized, I don't know what to tell you, blah, blah. Well, later, you know, a couple years later, when I actually asked her about this, she totally denied it. She said, that never happened. and these moments of vulnerability, there was, another time when I had to call my brother and ask him, if I could come and stay with him, because I was basically lost everything. And in part because I had earlier asked him if I could, after my husband wiped out and took all the money, I needed to borrow some money and he wouldn't lend it to me, so I lost my lawyer and I lost everything. And so I needed to get started over. I needed a place to live, and I needed a place to start this program. I needed a permanent residence, and so I asked him if I could come stay with him so I could get my feet on the ground. And his answer to me was, "You're asking me to invite addiction into my home." And I said, "Well, no, I'm asking you to invite your sister into your home." It was like they had me reduced to this thing so bad. It was just this superior stance. And the way that they all just were abusing me this time was just so terrible. Well, he denies that he ever said that, too. And so there's all these things that I just will never, ever, I wouldn't be able to make them up if I even tried. Things that were just such awful things to hear someone that you love say to you, just really just treat us so badly. I will never forget it. I know for sure that it happened, and so for them to tell me it didn't happen just as, but I'm at that point. There was a time earlier when I wanted to believe it didn't happen, So for years I would go on, my mom would, she would do something where she let me know that she was just not a safe place for me to go with my feelings. But then, I wanted to believe that she was. I wanted to believe that she loved me. And so I would believe the gaslighting. I would believe the lie, so that I would go in again and again and again to this empty well, and again and again and again get shot down, until finally I figured out, she's just not a safe place to go. Just not a safe place to go. It'll never be a safe place for me to go. But what's really important for you right now is I want to tell you, I hear you. I hear you and I believe you. And that's the biggest thing you need to hear. You're not crazy. The things that you remember, the feelings that you had, the sense that you have about what's going on is accurate. If you think that you're being abused, if you think that you're being mistreated, most likely you are. And make notes. You keep track of it, and you put someone on watch, and you start collecting evidence. You start making an argument one way or the other. And figure out for yourself, and I call this embracing reality. Make a case. Are you being abused? Start collecting evidence. If you are or if you aren't, but don't just accept what anyone's saying. Don't accept it when they tell you that things aren't the way you believe that they are. When they're telling you that your memory is wrong, don't accept that, especially not if you think this person is abusing you. And if you're here on these channels, then you're really one step ahead, because that means that you have at least an inclination that you're being narcissistically abused. And if you have an inclination that you're being narcissistically abused, and you have an inclination that gaslighting is going on, my guess is where there is smoke, there is fire, and you're absolutely correct. And so I just want to say to you, I don't want to be one of the ones that would ever gaslight you. I want to give you some validation and say to you, good for you. Bravo for having noticed it. Bravo for coming and checking it out. And, those people, whoever they are, most likely this is going to be someone really close to you, an intimate relationship with you, particularly parents, siblings, a romantic partner, a husband, a wife, girlfriend, boyfriend. If you think that they are gaslighting you, they are not safe for you to be around. This is a really dangerous person for you to be around, and not to underestimate the damage that they can do, and the goals that they have, and the person that they are. A person that is doing that lacks empathy. A person that is doing that lacks all the prerequisites for love, and is using you to meet their emotional needs in some way, somehow. And it will escalate, and it will get worse. And so you need to be very, very careful with whoever you're around. But starting from right here, I want you to hear me when I say, I hear you, I believe you, you're not crazy, and you've done a really good job of protecting yourself and not just blowing it off. Oh, they said it wasn't true, so I must be wrong, I must be going crazy. The first person to call you crazy is crazy. Normal people don't call you crazy, okay? The people that are calling you crazy are crazy people. And red flags should have been going off left and right when I first met my ex-husband, because his ex-girlfriends were all crazy drug addicts. He had 2 or 3 crazy drug addicts before me. And of course, that's what he ended up calling me. They do have wonderful success publicly. You know, they do tend to get a lot of people to follow them and believe them. And, you know, they can do incredible damage to your life, to your social life, to your, you know, your self-esteem, to your, you know, just to you in general. And so if you think you're being gaslit by someone, you need to put them on, you need to put yourself on notice about them. They're not a safe person for you to trust. I'm not saying you need to cut them off immediately right now, but you definitely need to put them on watch and start collecting evidence and see if there's more to that story. And if you start believing that, you start seeing that they really are gaslighting you and they really are telling lies to you or about you, or then you need to protect yourself and not be around them, because that person is doing you harm or planning to, and certainly capable of it. So be very, very careful. Gaslighting is lying in a really insidious, covert way, and it's with the intentions of a major manipulation. It's not little white lies. It's not little. It's big, and there's usually a lot more. If they're gaslighting you, there's a lot more of reasons why. You are a threat to them for some reason, and they are trying to discredit you. They're trying to first get you to not believe yourself, and then they're trying to also get no one else to believe you. And so typically what happens, if this plays out the way that they hope it will, the way that it did for me, is that they will get you to not believe yourself for so long that they have time to discredit you among everyone else. So that by the time you believe yourself, you're the last one. It's too late for you to get anyone else to believe you. There is strength in numbers. There is strength in being the first one to come out with a story. And so they all have that. They came out with the story first, and they have each other. Because of course, I believe the whole thing about that we're this family that, you know, we don't air our dirty linen. We're a little bit reserved. We're a little bit quiet. We don't blab our stuff all around to everybody. And what I came to understand was that all those stories that I believed about myself, about my family, were very self-protective. And when it came to every single one of those myths, that was what I believed was our family. For better or for worse, I believe that it was sort of our waspy family tradition, was to be reserved and to not maybe show a lot of affection and all that kind of stuff, but that we were loyal. We didn't talk about our private business with outsiders and that kind of thing. And what I have come to now understand is that they were just going to take bits and pieces of that worked for them, and when it came down to it, they could give the Jerry Springer show a run for its money. I mean, my family, when I tell this story in a couple of videos too, when I found myself in amongst, having a lifestyle amongst people that were from the bad families, all the people that were, the people that my family would have looked down on, the families, that had drug problems and all that kind of stuff, foster care situations and divorces and all that kind of controversial stuff, which my family had none of. What I came to realize, when I was in amongst those people, because of the way that my life had been taken down to such a level that I was now poor and homeless and all this stuff. So that was now my new life. Found myself surrounded by a whole different echelon of people, and came to realize that I had the very worst family, the most dysfunctional family of any family around, because it absolutely lacked any kind of love, any kind of compassion. It was really a ruthless, loveless place to be. Gaslighting is lying. It's basic as that. It is lying. It's insidious. It's hard to notice and hard to recognize, but at the bottom of it, the thing that the victims of it need to hear from someone is, I hear you, I see you, it's real, I've been there too, and you're going to be okay. Someone believes you, I believe you, and you can believe yourself. Okay, thanks a lot, you guys. I will talk with you really soon. If you haven't already, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and then always give me a thumbs up and write some comments you know, let me know what you know about gaslighting, and, you know, okay. Thanks a lot, guys. I will talk with you really soon. Okay, bye-bye.